Hello, everyone. Today I'm going to be discussing venture capital. So, last week I went over private equity. Venture capital is very similar. So, I'm going to go over what venture capital is and then kind of explain some of the core differences between the two. At its core level, venture capital is capital that is invested in a private startup company. So, there are venture capital firms or VCs that basically take institutional investors' money, then they invest in a wide variety of different startup companies. And then that kind of differs from private equity because private equity doesn't target startups. Rather, they target companies that are more established on average. So VCs usually purchase less than 50% of a company, whereas private equity firms usually acquire the full company. So purchase 100% of the private shares, so they take full ownership. But VCs only do less than 50% usually, which allows them for greater diversification opportunities. So instead of allocating a lot more money to acquire 100% of a startup, since they are limiting their funds to only around maybe like 20 or 30%, they can use the rest of those funds that they would have invested in that company to instead invest in other companies. So basically just creating better diversification. And then eventually, if like the new Facebook comes out or another Apple comes out, and a venture capital firm did invest in one of these, they would make insane profits over time because they invested 20% or whatever, 30% or 40, whatever they chose to invest. So because they're able to diversify and they are able to hit a lot more companies, when one of them does take off, they're able to profit quite a bit from that. So venture capital, just like private equity, is usually reserved for institutional and high-income investors. So the average person is unfortunately not going to invest in venture capital firms, but to be a high-income investor, I think it's over $200,000 a year, and then maybe a net worth of over $1 million. So most people, unfortunately, would not be able to invest in venture capital. It is more risky, so maybe the average person probably wouldn't want to anyways, but if you do have quite a bit of money, quite a bit of income, venture capital and private equity are something that you might be able to do. But usually it is institutional investors that will end up investing in venture capital as well as private equity. But yeah, anyways, that was just a brief overview of venture capital, and I hope you enjoyed.